if there is a disruption within the meeting. But I believe it's his direction that can go to law enforcement to have somebody to be removed. I want to understand if that's truly the case. In the other ISD, that district is potentially having a lawsuit because we are not allowed as school board members to remove if they're just vocal. So is there a way to do some research on what school board members or what this should really state?
You mean like what constitutes a disruption? Like how,
And what member of the board, what actions does Mr. Montemayor have to take to direct law enforcement to remove somebody from the audience? This is an open meeting. Anybody is permitted to be here. We can't just remove somebody if we just don't like what they said or what they did. I'd like a little more clarity around that. Does that make sense?
I think so.
It's defining what a disruption is.
Yes.
And who has the ability to request the removal?
Yep. We can
Or
just.
the authority to request a removal, I guess you would say. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I can do some researching with our counsel on that.
Thank you.
Anything else? So I guess it's still open-ended. We can still
I think we
approve
can,
based
I
on.
mean, we can approve those items and then this, when you have more information, can come back. Yeah.
Okay. So all those in favor? Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I'm going to take my leave.
Okay. You have that form? All right. So that was. I think you stay, then now we still need to go to consider the employment agreements, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, so the very first thing that I want to talk to the board now about is we are bringing to you an administrator employment agreement for consideration. The superintendent does make contract recommendations for central office administration personnel. And so we are bringing the employment agreement for the new onboarding manager, which is a position within Human Resource Services. So the administration recommends approval of the onboarding manager employment agreement as submitted. No. Oh, yeah, yes, as discussed in closed session.
Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Flores and Mr. English for the second. Any questions or comments on that? All right, all those in favor? All right, motion passes, and that person would be?
Our new onboarding manager is Andrea Gonzalez Jarrett.
Excellent. All right, and now the custodial supervisor?
Yes. So again, superintendent makes recommendations to the board. So we are bringing the employment agreement for a new custodial supervisor to you. So we recommend approval of the custodial supervisor employment agreement as discussed in closed session.
Is there a motion? Mr. Flores, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. English, any questions? All right, all those in favor? All right, motion carries. And who would that be?
Our new custodial supervisor is Miguel Estrada.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so then that picks us back up on consider approval of resolution for to set tax rate. Ms. Adams?
What about DC local?
Yeah, did we DC local?
Letter
Oh,
F.
sorry, I thought, okay. So you're still up there. So
Still
consider
me.
approval of DC local board policy update.
Yes. So we are bringing to the board a recommendation to edit DC local. So DC local, there's a section of DC local that's regarding employment of contractual personnel. And the board retains final authority to employ all positions above and including campus principals, and will receive recommendations for those positions from the superintendent. But the board delegates to the superintendent final authority authority to employ all contractual personnel below the level of campus principal. There's a slight edit here. The old version, what you have in your board book is our proposed version. The old version of DC local in that employment of contractual personnel area says, or I shouldn't say old, it's the current. The current version says that the superintendent has sole authority to make recommendations to the board regarding the selection of campus principals and central administration contractual personnel. That's the piece that we're proposing be removed, the central administration contractual personnel. Today's employment agreements that we brought to you is a perfect example. So with removing all of the central office personnel, you won't have the things like onboarding manager, custodial supervisor, those types of positions that are below the level of campus principal would be delegated to the superintendent for hiring. So it just means that I don't want to use the term lower level, but those positions that are under that of a principal would be delegated to the superintendent. So all of these kind of central office employment agreement type positions wouldn't have to come to you for approval every time.
Okay. So I guess first, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. English. We made changes to that. Okay, so first, so that would be positions that are just paid based on the pay grade below principal, or how is that determined what's above principal versus below
Right.
principal?
So principal and above is going to be, so obviously principal, then you have your directors that are above the principals, your executive directors that are above the principals, assistant superintendents, deputy superintendent. So below a principal is going to be like your assistant principals, your onboarding managers, your custodial supervisors, your coordinator for mathematics, all the coordinator positions would be below. So what we're trying to do is to, like, these central office positions that are below that of a principal the authority is delegated to the superintendent to hire those. So there's really only a slight change. It's a very small change, and it's just the words central office contractual personnel. That would be removed. But everybody that's principal above, so directors, executive directors, superintendent, deputy superintendent, assistant superintendent would still come to the board for approval and for hire.
So I know there were some edits to that just recently because we actually wanted some visibility into those movements, but I think it was still more focused on principal and above. So,
I was just confused when she said here in the central office, right?
right. Yeah, that's why. So I didn't know if they were just based on category or.
So central office
Great.
personnel that are above that of a principal would absolutely still come to the board. So that's directors, again, directors, executive directors, assistant supes, deputy supes. It's only those positions that are below that of a principal. The coordinator positions, again, onboarding manager, custodial supervisor, those that are below a principal would not.
Why
That's
are
the
those-
only change.
Why are those considered central office? Wouldn't they be campus level positions?
No, like coordinator for mathematics, that's a Zeller's position. The custodial supervisor, because they have kind of reach across the district, those are central office positions. The coordinator for social studies, coordinator for science, those are all central office positions. They're housed here in Zeller's and they have district kind of oversight, if you will, district reach.
Because I think some concern we wanted to know, head count, movement,
Well, and
pay
FTEs still
grade.
come to you guys, absolutely, like approval for new positions or reclassifying positions, that all still comes to you. It's just the employment agreement / the contract for central office personnel that's below that of a principal. That's the only piece that would change. Everything else, reclassifications, new FTEs still comes to you.
Any other questions or comments? Nope. All right, all those in favor? Okay. Motion passes.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Okay, so now we do get to item G. We consider approval of resolution to set tax rate.
Yes, good evening, or night. I'm not sure where we are now. But just to expedite this, I just give you the quick overview, and I sent this out to the Finance Committee. If this seems like deja vu, it's because last month you did, in August, approve the tax rate. However, there were a lot of moving parts from even the last legislative session, and then some even further clarification from both the Texas Association of School Business Officials and the Texas Association of School Boards that advised that we needed to formalize that with a specific resolution that had specific language included. And so this is not to change the tax rate that you've already set, that the budget has already set upon. This is really to formalize it so that we meet all of the corners of the law. And so with that, I am bringing to you the recommendation to pass that resolution, and in the motion, read the entire resolution as written when we put that on your board agenda item sheet so that someone could read that. There are two statements that have to be in all caps and in large print, and those are related again to some of the tax laws that were passed that are attempting to give more transparency, but they tend to confuse instead. And they are surrounding the no new revenue rate and the voter approved tax rate. The rate that you passed was the voter approved tax rate that requires no further action by the board other than this resolution. The no new revenue rate is a rate that we have to publish that indicates really that if your taxable value goes up, that in order to avoid raising new revenue, that you would have to drop your tax rate. And so that is not advised, it's not recommended, but we do have to include that language in the resolution. Any questions?
So I guess I'll read that from that motion on down. So September 20th, 2021, on this date, we, the Board of Trustees of Little Elm School District, hereby levy or set the tax rate on $100 valuation for the district for the tax year 2021 at a total tax rate of $1.4303 to be assessed and collection by the duty specified assessor and collector as follows. 0.9603 cents for the purpose of maintaining, 96.03 cents for the purpose of maintenance and operations, and 47 cents for the purpose of payment of principal and interest on debts. Such taxes are the
Oh, I apologize. That's the typo. Are to be assessed.
Are to be assessed and collected by the tax officials designated by the district. This tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's tax rate. This tax rate will be effectively raised by 1.7% and will raise taxes for maintenance and operations on a $100,000 home by approximately $24.33. Adopted this 20th day of September 2021 by the Board of Trustees. Is there a
And
second?
that correction that we made is actually correct in the resolution. It's just typed wrong on your board sheet.
Oh,
So
okay. So is there a second,
Second.
Ms. Myers? Any questions or comments on that?
I'm just happy to see that basically from 2014 to now, we've actually dropped it almost 10 cents and still been able to maintain. So that's really good.
All right, all those in favor? All right, thank you very much.
thank you. And then if you don't mind, President Montemayor, for time's sake, on the next item, Jesse is here and available if you have any questions, but given that there are no amendments recommended and the report has been included in your agenda, if you would like to move forward with a motion, we're fine with that, or Jesse can come up if you would like, if anyone has questions.
Do we want to do it that way, or could we recommend putting it down into consent agenda? Since it is in our board book, or would it have to be in the consent agenda section?
You can put it in the consent agenda?
No, you can go ahead and vote.
Okay, so that'll be, all right, so is there a motion to approve the financial reports as as included in our board book? Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any specific questions or comments that anyone would have for Mr. Weiss?
I do want to make a comment. What you just said a second ago, could it be moved in consent? It can. It's a call for the board if you want it in consent or not.
We've already.
No, I'm
already
saying
done
for
them.
For a
future.
later,
Future.
for a future.
For the
agenda.
future.
Oh, you mean permanent? Yeah, no, yeah. I still like it, having the option of having it up there. All right, so any additional questions or comments on that? All right, all those in favor? All right, thank you very much. All right, then we have, consider approval of nomination to the NSBA Advisory Institute.
Yes.
Mr. English.
Yes, so the National School Board Association has advocacy, which goes to Washington DC to engage with our Congress and senators about local issues that affect us and impact us. They're offering a stipend for the registration and for the actual conference, but the board, we would have to pick up the accommodations and the travel going forward. So what I would like to recommend is the issues that really affect us, I would like to gather those up from the board, particularly at the federal level. And if they approve me for the stipend, to go and begin to talk to our senators and congressmen about some of the things that are impactful to us, particularly the fact that we're a fast-growing district.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Just the first question that popped into my mind from a while back is we, a couple years ago, decided to no longer attend like the National School Board Association meetings,
Yeah.
just, because the training hours didn't count,
Right.
et cetera.
Right.
The topics seemed a bit hanky.
Right.
So this is not
No,
that, right?
no, this is
a
actually going to
separate-
talk to actual senators, congressmen, and engaging with them about what are impactful to us in school districts and the laws that are there. So this is actual, getting to really meet with them and discuss these issues.
Do we know about how much that'll be?
I'll have to look it up and get back to you on that one. For the accommodations and travel.
So I mean, what I'm wondering, should we approve like an up to amount or something? Like, is there any ballpark?
I mean, airline tickets and then a hotel stay.
Or just as deemed
Yeah.
appropriate or something?
Yeah,
So, okay.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so I guess, so is there, we already have a motion
To approve it.
Yeah, approve it.
You first need to approve it.
and then the amount. All right, so all those in favor of approving that trip? Okay. And then is there a motion to approve the expenses to support that trip as appropriate?
Yes.
I move the board approve the expenses for the NSBA Advocacy Institute trip as deemed appropriate.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those, or questions on that? All those in favor?
Thank you, board. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Like I say, I will come back to the board if approved for the stipend and everything, to get your input and your questions, the things that you want to know at the federal level that we can begin to push. This will be kind of a first for Little Elm. We've never really pushed into the federal level from a small district like we are. So this will be a first for all.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right, does anyone have anything from consent agenda that they'd like pulled out? All right, so is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted in our board book?
I move we accept the consent agenda as printed in the board book.
Is there a second?
Second.
All righty, all those in favor? All right, perfect. Thank you very much. I guess for my comments, I know tonight got a bit lively, but I actually do like to see that, the community is involved. And I think ultimately, most of what was said here was really echoed regardless of what side of the issue that everyone was on. I think it is important for us to hear those comments. I think it is important for us to consider those comments. Because ultimately, if we just do everything in a vacuum, we're never going to question our own decisions on that as well. So, although I wouldn't want that every meeting, every so often isn't such a bad thing. Shed light on what we're doing, have to answer to what we're doing, and have to think about what we're doing. So I do appreciate everybody's time and commitment for being here for that and taking in all the comments that were made. So again, thank you for all that, and I'll open it up to the rest of the board. So we'll start on this side.
No, I'm good. I like being called ignorant only once per board meeting, so I'm good.
Just thank you, everybody, for staying late. I don't know, my watch died, so I don't know what time it is. And just as a reminder, the parade next week, if anybody wants to come out to attend, I'm just glad we're having it since we did not have it last week or last year.
Yeah.
I do want to just, I think, just kind of remind the board that, you know, we're all colleagues. I really did enjoy the discussion tonight. I really liked hearing both sides of the argument, understanding everybody's opinions, and I did talk to several people afterwards and on both sides of the aisle. But I want to make sure that we all respect each other. I think condescension is not needed on this board table. I don't need to be talked down to. I want to have respect and dignity amongst all of us. I will never treat anyone on this board that way. I respect everybody that sits here next to us. I've served on this community, in this community, and on this board for several years. And I respect all of you for doing the same thing for your community. So I just want us to work together, be professional, and really understand that we are in this together. We're all here for the students. We're all here for kids. We all have children and people that we love in this district. So if we can, let's just work together. Let's make sure we're making the right decisions for the students in the district. And I really do appreciate every one of us that sits on this board. I just want to remind everybody that we just need to treat each other with respect. Thank you.
It's my turn. Well, I want to tell everybody good night. And that's all I have tonight because I have no coffee left. I don't have any snacks left. My family has come and gone. They didn't even bring snacks. I appreciate everybody staying very, very, very late with us tonight. It was 25 people. It was a long list of people. And I like that we had the conversation and the discussion and the full room, I feel like brings us a lot of content that we would miss otherwise. And it does help inform our decisions and influence us to be our best selves, our best leaders. So I really enjoy getting an opportunity for us to have robust conversations, some vigor to it, and help us to kind of all grow and develop in our roles here. It's a good thing to grow. It's a good thing. So I appreciate it. I'm excited for you for representing us soon at the federal level. We get to tell you our Christmas list so you can go and tell them things we need.
Yeah, there's quite a bit there. So first, I want to thank the board. Tonight was one of those nights, and, you know, we haven't had one of those nights in a long time. It's been really interesting. When I first joined the board, we had some very long nights with some really interesting discussions. And this one, once again, was a very, very difficult one for me, just wading through the ideas. You know, I admit I still have some reservations, but we'll see where this goes. We'll see where this goes. I want to say thank you to the staff for staying with us late. I know you guys got to get up in the morning. I know Ms. Gallagher is usually up by 7 or 6 or 7 in the morning because we have early morning calls sometimes. And I know many of you are as well. So we appreciate you. And to the community and those who may be listening as the last end, thank you for taking the time to be with us and a part of us, to listen to our thoughts and ideas and what drives us. I think in the end, we all are driven by what's best for our children. I think that's the guiding, and it always has been a guiding force. We may not always agree. And I don't think this is the first time, nor will it be the last time. But, you know, we have the opportunity to make the decisions in these seats, which are owned by our constituents. They own these seats, and we always must remember that. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the district.
Yeah, I want to thank staff for staying late. It was a little bit later than a normal board meeting. I want to thank our SROs, Officer Holyfield. Thank you for being here. Sonia, thank you always. You know, board members, I do want to say, you know, each one of you play a huge role in this district and the direction we're going, things that we've done in the past. The reason we're able to do these things today and the accomplishments we've made over the last 6 to 7 years, it's a result of the hard work of our staff, our teachers, our students, but it always starts with the board. And each one of you are volunteers. And, I know I truly appreciate the community coming out. I echo your words. But I want the community to understand that each one of you volunteer. You're up here for a reason because you have a passion for our kids, for our staff, for our teachers, and each one of you do want the best for our district. I did hear some things from community members, and I know there's some frustrations, but at the end of the day, and I always say this, what makes this district the great district it is the community. It's all of us coming together for one reason. It's our kids. So, we had a great, I want to say, ribbon cutting today with the CUTX branch that will be opening at the high school. It's just another example of what we do in this district for our kids. There was a lot of passion tonight, but at the end of the day, what I see we have 7 individuals up here that, while may not always agree on everything, you all have the heart for this district and for the kids. So I applaud each one of you. I respect each one of you. And the reason we're able to do what we're doing in Little MISD is because of each one of you sitting up here. So I appreciate y'all.
All right. So on that note, is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. English, is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Thompson, all those in favor? All right. Adjourn at 10:59.